Welcome back to Pursuing Justice. I'm Harriet Handel. We began a series of podcasts last month where we were talking about the impact of prison on children when one or both parents are incarcerated. Amy Friedman, a friend and a writer and an activist from California, was one of our guests. She created a club for high school students called POPS, Pain of the Prison System, a club which offered a safe place to share that intimate fact, having a parent behind bars. Today, 5 million kids have a parent in prison. Thanks to Amy, I'll be speaking with 4 young adults who are all too familiar with the many challenges of staying connected to a mom or a dad in a correctional facility. Over the next few weeks, we will meet these very special guests, each of whom have handled their situation differently. And today we have Karen ARELLANO, who is a member of POPS, the club. Karen, welcome. So glad you could come on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Congratulations to you on your upcoming graduation from the University of California at Irvine. When is your actual graduation date?
I'll be graduating on the 12th this week.
Oh, wow. Very, very soon. Okay. Is it a virtual graduation?
Yeah, they were going to hold a virtual graduation ceremony, but I didn't sign up for it, so I'll just be done.
You'll just be done. Okay. You must be very, very proud of yourself. The road to this milestone in your life was not an easy one. Tell us, our listeners, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I got involved with POPS when I was already in college. It was my first year of college. I actually got back in contact with my father after not being in contact with him throughout some part of middle school and then my entire time in high school. And I was just inspired to open up a club at the community college I was in. So I looked up incarceration-based clubs online, and I found Amy Friedman's interview on YouTube. So I went ahead and emailed her, and ever since then she pulled me into the program, and I'm a communications intern now, and I've been involved with POP since.
That's terrific. When you looked up clubs, I kind of meant to do that myself and got a little distracted in preparing for the podcast today. Are there other clubs besides Echoes of Incarceration, which is New York based and tied to the Quakers, actually, the American Friends Committee? Are there others besides that one and POPS that you found?
Actually, yeah, there's a couple others. There's Developing Despite Distance. I believe they are based in Detroit. And then there's another club called Daughters Beyond Incarceration, which is specifically for daughters who have a parent in prison, and that one's in New Orleans, I believe.
Oh, so is that about it? That's a pretty short list, right?
That's all I know. I'm pretty sure there's more, but those are the organizations I've actually seen and heard people speak on.
Okay, I'll have to do that. I'm very curious to know if there are more. Certainly, we could use many, many more. I'm based here in Sarasota, Florida, and when I made contact with Amy a number of years ago, we both tried to bring POPS here. Mm-hmm. And I had been a mentor with some middle and high school students for many years, and thought, well, maybe because I do work in the school system with them, I would have some pull. And I wrote personal letters to all the principals, and I never got any response whatsoever. I even sent them the wonderful literary journal that Pops prints, and then Amy followed up, and nothing came of it. So we know that it's very, very necessary. And one of the young men that I interviewed with Echoes talked about the feeling that he was all alone, that nobody else was going through this. Did you have a similar feeling yourself growing
Yes.
up?
Growing up, I had that feeling all the time. I felt very alienated too. I didn't really connect with my peers, and for me personally, the victims' family members, they lived around my community in the same street that I lived on. So, and then they went to school. They went to the same elementary school and middle school and stuff. So, the mothers, the elders, they would, comment, stare. I actually found out, I thought my dad was in prison for a traffic violation. I actually found out the severity of the case and his life sentence through a class member.
I see. Wow. And that's not a way to find out. Now, your dad is, where is he incarcerated?
He is in the California treatment facility in Corcoran. I think SATF.
Okay. And his sentence is what? What is
he has 2 life sentences plus 25 years to life without parole.
So it looks like he's not coming out, correct?
Correct.
Right. And tell us about your connection to him, or maybe lack of. Did things change over the years for you in terms of your relationship with him?
Yes, they did. When I growing up, when I was little, my dad was everything to me, right? I could go to him and speak to him about anything. I always missed him. I always longed for him. He always wrote to me. He sent me drawings and books and Christmases, and I would visit him every time my grandma would take me, which was not often, but I was always looking forward to that. And actually, she told me once that we couldn't see him because he was in the shoe, and they tried to get me out, and I just started running from them because I didn't want to leave around the visiting room. And I was running around so that they wouldn't catch me because I wanted to see my dad, and I started crying. So that was my tantrum. But yeah, I love my dad very much, and I felt like he was the only person I could talk to then. And like now that I'm an adult, our relationship is different and it's more complicated, and we argue more, but we try to stay connected and to strengthen our relationship.
So the communication lines, have they always been open, Karen, with him?
As far as how, what do you mean?
Well, were there any breaks in the communication where you weren't in touch with him?
Yeah. Actually, what I actually had to move to, well, as a child, I had to move to Mexico twice for a year with my grandma. And I wasn't in contact with him at all during those times. Actually, the second time that I went, he actually never even noticed that I had left.
Wow.
That's how often I visited. But yeah, I came back and I visited him as soon as I came back. And I was like, yeah, I've been in Mexico this whole time. He's like, oh, I didn't even know
that. You were gone a whole year, you said?
2 years, twice.
2 years?
Yeah.
Wow. That's great.
So, and then the last time I saw him was also in 6th grade. After that, we fell out of contact until college, my first year of college.
Oh, that's a big space in between. When you say you fell out of contact, you didn't even write to him or speak to him by phone? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
No. But today, even though you say you have differing, perspectives on things, you still have a good line of communication to him?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. All right. And when's the last? Well, now with the virus, of course, there are no visiting. There no one's visiting anybody in a prison anywhere in the country. When is the last time that you visited with him?
The last time I went was, I believe, in November. I believe November.
Oh, that was a while ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. We had a family visit scheduled for May, so we were trying not to visit often because it is expensive. And he told me to wait until May since I had a family visit then. But because of the coronavirus, it got canceled.
Yeah, right, right. Now, usually when you were young, you said your grandma took you. Is that generally how you got to see him?
Yeah, my
Grandma,
grandmother would take me. She couldn't drive herself, so she had to rely on her husband,
right.
and his schedule. So
And how big a trip was it? Where has he moved around a great deal?
yes,
Yeah. So yeah,
yes,
that's very
he's been
often.
in
How
several
many?
different
uh,
he's been in several different institutions. The longest one I believe was, he always tried not to go so far, like in San Quentin and stuff like that, but the longest one was, I believe, Salinas Valley, which is like 5 hours up north.
That's a long. And now, how far away is he right now?
He's 3 hours up north.
That's a long. 3 hours round trip or one way?
uh One way.
One way.
About 3 hours.
That's exhausting. Yeah, it's very very difficult. And when you're little, it's a very different story visiting uh, compared to where you are now. Where if the prison was open, you could take yourself there and drive there. As
Hmm.
a little one, you can't do that. So back to Pops. How do you see a club like Pops? What value does it have? You weren't part of it in high school as many kids are, but how do you view Pops?
Yeah, so I really never benefited off the self-expression uh part of Pops, but like Pops did create a positive community for me, and it created um also opportunities for to intern at Pops and to help students like me within the organization. Um, so just being around people that understand me and people that are supportive and willing to talk about your dad without any stigma,
Right.
it's very empowering.
Uh,
It's nice.
that's great. Do you have an opportunity now to share your story with the members of Pops?
Yeah, so sometimes I go to site visits, um, and I introduce myself and I tell them a little bit about myself, and that's where a little bit of my story comes out.
Mm.
And yeah, it's,
What do you get as a response from the kids?
you know, s it just depends on the kids. Some they they like to stay quiet, but I feel like the most, so Pops has this program also with Mark Twain Middle School, and I felt very like efficient. I felt very helpful, and I felt really uh, proud because when I went to go share my experiences with these middle school kids, they just started opening up, and the therapist had told me that this was the first time they opened up, and I just felt really um, I don't know, I just felt really good about being able to